What's the headline today? What's the headline going to be coming out of the owners' meetings?
Well, today it's going to be the Olympics. Tomorrow it'll be what happens with the tush push and playoff seeding. I think the Olympic thing is going to sail through. And I think that there's a lot of big picture things that the owners are thinking about there. As you know, Dan, like football's a tough sport to export. If you're trying to get kids overseas playing, and it's not like basketball or soccer where you can just set up a couple goals or a couple hoops and roll out the balls and teach kids. There's a lot of infrastructure that goes into building it up and trying to legitimize flag football has been the NFL's way of trying to get around that. And they're trying to make it a varsity sport, and high schools here. It's a way to engage young girls and try to get them involved. And obviously now overseas it's a lot easier to bring the flag version than the tackle version overseas. So that's an initiative that's been a longstanding one for the league, and I think they're probably going to vote things through. It'll get interesting when we figure out who actually would go, but I think they'll vote that through today, and then tomorrow the tush push is going to be voted on. And I think that one, the commissioner of the league office really want to get that through. Whether or not it winds up winning the vote, I think is up in the air. My guess would be they push something through, but they have adjusted that. The Packers proposal has been significantly adjusted over the last 24 hours. And then you have the playoff seeding thing, which at least feels to me right now like more of they're setting the stage for 2026. I don't know that after only having a handful of teams supporting it in March that they're going to be able to vote that through tomorrow.
What role do the Eagles play in the tush push?
They've been pretty aggressive in fighting it. Howie Roseman stood up at the owners meeting in March and basically said, well, like if you say this is such a dangerous play, I want to see the injury data, and there really isn't injury data. And what the chief medical officer of the NFL said to the room was, we haven't had major injuries, but when we have one based on the posture of the quarterback on this play, it's going to be catastrophic. And it's interesting because that's one argument. And then teams that are for banning it, it's a different argument. It's not a football play, it's a rugby play. So, like the Eagles have been steadfast in feeling like they're being targeted here, and feeling like this is only an issue because they've gotten so good at it, and they think it's a bad precedent for the league to set when one team gets really good at one thing and it's deemed unfair that now you can, find a way to get it taken out of the game. At the same time, if you go back to 2004, there was a rule in the books that prevented all pushing and pulling of offensive teammates. And that got repealed for reasons that had nothing to do with what Philly's doing. The reason why was because downfield blocks had become harder to officiate, and delineating whether or not an offensive player was blocking a defender or pushing his own teammate across a line to gain, a goal line, whatever. So it's complicated. There's a lot that's going into it. Again, the Eagles were vocal in March, and they've certainly been on the phones over the last few days too, and trying to make their case to other teams that'll be voting tomorrow.